The franchise recap is on to season 18, the one that nearly ruined the franchise, The Ruins. Airing September to December 2009, 28 cast members headed for the first, but far from last time, to Phuket, Thailand to compete in 10 episodes, 2 specials, for a differently distributed but same 300,000 plus prizes. Evolutions in history include champs versus challengers for the first time. Not a great idea. Individual bank accounts that could be stolen via elim defeat. 3 people sent home for violence and 4 sent home overall. Kenny became the first 5-time finalist. He and Derek joined the 3-time champ club. Evan took over the all-time confessional count lead. Wes became the winningest elim player ever for the time at 8-1. And unfortunately, the first lawsuit against the show was filed. Let's tackle that lawsuit right at the top here, and then we will move to the cast, storylines, memorable moments. This video is going to be longer than most because of this topic, but it's too important to not address. So here we go. There was a lawsuit filed 2 years later by Tanya alleging sexual assault from Kenny and Evan, saying she was violated with a toothbrush while passed out drunk the night where in the show we see Johnny throw powder in her face. She also filed for unlawful termination, harassment, and failure to prevent discrimination or retaliation. Her claims included that many cast members witnessed everything and that camera crews filmed everything, meaning the production knew and covered it all up. For their part, Buna Murray said they found Tanya's claims to be completely baseless, as did the defendants, Evan and Kenny. Here's what I'd like to say. I have no idea what happened. Obviously, I wasn't there. I know how hard it is for a victim of these types of crimes to come forward, and I am very, very glad that in recent years we've moved towards a world that encourages and helps facilitate bringing to justice those who commit heinous acts like the ones described in this lawsuit. Now, it has been stated, though, by many, many cast members who were there repeatedly that the actual assault alleged didn't happen, that Tanya was told it happened when she woke up, and given her experience with those guys, easily believed what she had been told. Sarah and Susie most notably have spoken on this many, many times over the years, including very recently after they were on Zach Nichols' pod and brought up Kenny. They then did their own Patreon episode just talking about this situation. And I'm big fans of those two. I trust them in their character, as 2 of the women in the house at the time witnessed to all these things. Sarah was deposed in the court case over this. I trust them that the main allegation didn't happen or anything like that did not happen, but that obviously the treatment of Tanya was horrible from the guys in the house, from production, and not just this season, but going back multiple seasons. Which is why, when reading the actual lawsuit court filing, the many other allegations Tanya made about the show and the environment were in large part spot on. They were not going to win her anything in court because of just kind of how the laws were and the contracts they had signed, how they were written, but she was right about a lot of things. For instance, it mentions them giving unlimited alcohol with limited food in hopes of causing shit to go down. Yeah, that's a thing they did. Lots of shows did. It's the proverbial line I always reference, really, reality productions trying to walk up to, but not over, and how difficult that is and what we as fans have to kind of wrestle with. That's what we're kind of a little bit rooting for too. It mentioned other acts done by JEK, like the plunger in Katie's bed or the powder in the face, and that nothing was done about this. It was even encouraged. And again, yes, from the outside, it does seem inherently it was encouraged by production over the years to do shit like this, to do pranks that went beyond pranks, to be mean and really bullying towards specific cast members, mainly Tanya. Same with the claims that derogatory terms were used against the women in the house. That obviously happened a lot and is, again, indirectly encouraged during this era of the show in particular. Her one false claim, outside of the assault itself, but the wrongful termination, because while she may have been horribly mistreated, probably never should have been there to begin with, she did hit Veronica across the face several times this season. That is grounds to be removed from the show. Tanya shouldn't have been allowed to be there. That is not taking care of your people. She should not have been cast at this point. They should have offered her the mental help she needed, the potential rehab help that she needed, helping her through the demons that she had. She needed that help. It was clear for a few seasons of the show. And to cast her, give her unlimited alcohol, cast all these people who have been antagonistic towards her or had issues with her in the past, or she's had issues with them in the past. Knowing all that history, it was asking for the line to be crossed, and that line was crossed numerous times, even without a true assault taking place. Okay. PSA over, let's talk about the actual season, because outside of the shitty treatment of Tanya and at times other women in the house, the season did kind of rock. That's the weird thing about this season, is this whole horrible thing that I just had to talk about for 5 minutes or whatever. But outside of that, the season's rock. So you can't just be like, oh, that season sucks, it never should have happened, flush it down the toilet, because there's a kind of a lot of interesting things here. There's a true mix of eras 1, 2, and even starting to be 3 of the show here. Susie, Darrell, Veronica, Cyrus, Katie, all there as real OGs. Brad, Derek, Evan, Johnny, Kenny, Johanna, Wes, Evelyn, Adam, and others from the kind of current era of the show. And then some newer faces that shown. Kellyanne, Kahutta, Dunbar, all really repping for Real World Sydney in their second or third season. And then Sarah Rice as a rookie going all the way to the end, making a huge name for herself. The champs, as far as the competition of the season, absolutely dominate the game, winning 8 of the 9 dailies, winning most of the elims, mainly Wes and Susie winning a lot of those elims, but the champs winning a lot of those elims. And they honestly could have been even more dominant. I know, I guess, won one more daily, won the 9th one that they didn't win. But if Evelyn doesn't give up at the opening elimination, letting Kellyanne win, because she just doesn't want to be a partner to the JEK group that she had, aligned with, heel turned with on the island, didn't want to be a part of it anymore. She gives up, lets Kellyanne win. I mean, add Evelyn to this team. Are you kidding me? It's already one of the best of all time. It then probably is the best of all time without really even debate or need to thinking about it. Even while dominating, the champs team had plenty of drama, though, notably Wes versus everybody. All his enemies were on his team. His new girlfriend, Kellyanne, was his only ally in the house, but she's on the other team. Not a lot of help to be offered. He fights with Johanna, who threatens to sell the house they had bought together in an all-time challenge moment. He beefs with Darrell, and of course with Kenny and friends, who are his true arch nemesis. He wins 2 elims, negotiates his way out of a couple others, but then ultimately gets thrown in again, beaten by Kahutta to end his MVP-esque campaign for the season. Similarly, Susie goes on an amazing run. She wins 3 elims, including the final 2 to secure her spot in the finals on a champs team that seemed determined to only have men left on it at the end. Susie and Bananas' late season wins in Ragdoll versus Kimberly and Dunbar respectively was a true season highlight. Ragdoll was pole wrestle, but with like a small piece of rope that obviously bent and could burn you and all the kinds of things, make it even more brutal than the traditional stick. It was pouring rain. They were both vicious battles that cemented the champs team being super stacked for the final and the challengers team being down to their final 2 players. But in that final, Sarah and Kellyanne damn near pulled it off. Some sloppy balance beam performances likely cost them $80K each in one of the biggest upsets and most satisfying victories the show would have ever seen. Instead, Johnny, Evan, Kenny, Derek, plus Susie got the win, cementing them as the dominant players of their era. Other memorable moments to hit quick. The house was an eavesdropper's paradise. Lots of great moments of people catching people talking about them. Veronica, a little bit betrayed and backstabbed by the veteran team. This would be her final season for quite some time, and then thankfully came back into our lives many seasons later. Poor Siobhan popped her implant when falling onto the water, a very memorable moment in challenge history. And Darrell knocked Brad out cold in a violent outburst between seemingly friends, which turned out to be a bit of a big misunderstanding that they've both talked about a lot years later. It's extremely messy, of course, and we covered at length the nasty side of this season and how it represents this era of the guys' behavior being piss poor, to say the least, and production encouraging that. But it's also a very compelling season in a lot of ways. Some of the dailies and limbs are really cool. We had some great storylines throughout. It's our most complicated rating. Feels of a pair with The Island. I'm going with the good tier here. I'm giving it a full B grade. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on the upcoming Battle of the Eras season coverage. Tune in tomorrow to recap my favorite season of all time.